Ladies and gentlemen, in front of you right now is a very crucial choice. It's the choice between following whatever path they've designed for you, following the herd and believing what they want you to believe, or to flip the switch. What I've said before on this channel many times is that if you've prepared yourself properly, right now is absolutely one of the best times ever to make a massive and absolutely crazy, outstanding amount of money if you know where to look. But in all honesty, this old system of, oh, but just put some money into the bank and save it up, it will be good, that your parents or even your grandparents probably knew because it's been around for 100 and something years. Yeah, it's probably not going to work as well anymore. Take a look at this article. The US dollar could lose most of its value in 5 years, investment manager warns. Indeed, took a look at their investment firm. It's quite moderate, only $45 million assets under management. He's not the only guy, these guys are not the only guys to say that though, as we also have guys like Robert Kiyosaki who also are coming out now to state this along these lines. The inflation, of which the reports, by the way, are coming out in a couple of days. We've got ourselves the major inflation report coming out over on the 12th, which hopefully you guys are all now already prepared for, as Bitcoin is probably set to make a major move on that day. And again, whatever Bitcoin goes, altcoins go. And now before we move on, guys, later on in this video, I'm going to show you guys some crazy metrics, all right, that a lot of you guys don't have access to, but I do. I'm going to explain to you guys to the best of my ability why right now is just such a crucial moment for the crypto space and why I believe that if you follow these steps correctly, there's a ton of money to be made, but I'm not your financial advisor. All I can ask for here, though, as a payment is a like. So make sure you press that like button as I try every single day to spend all my time and all these people's time here to research this crypto space most properly so you guys can benefit from it. Again, guys, my main business is running a crypto venture fund. We also now have a small new hedge fund that we're starting. But trust me when I say that these YouTube videos, the literal only reason I made this studio and I go through the effort of posting these is because I really think everybody should learn up on crypto right now as it's the future. Anyway, the reason I'm just quickly showing this is to understand that indeed inflation, the US dollar, everything is just spiraling completely out of control. And I honestly believe that crypto right now is more attractive than ever before. We've got ourselves quite a couple of different metrics that I think are rather interesting. These are all workbenches, aka combined charts with multiple different indicators inside of them, trying to depict exactly where we're in terms of the market formation right now. Here's, for example, the Bitcoin long-term holder realized profit loss ratio, which simply explained is the ratio between the LTH realized profit and realized loss. It provides a view on both macro trend, shifts in market sentiment, and the directional dominance of flowing or value flowing in and out of the network. And so it being in green typically shows an uptrend and otherwise in red shows a little bit of a downtrend. We also in blue got ourselves the LTH SOPR, which is the long-term holders spent output ratio. It's also shown in here providing a comparison between the realized profit loss multiple, and the SOPR does not consider the total dollar value and instead works on a per spent output basis. This means small and large size transactions carry equal weight, whereas the profit loss ratio is sensitive to size. Anyway, I think you guys, without needing a very deep explanation, can all pretty easily see where the Bitcoin all-time high was and what the values were looking like at that point. Hopefully you guys all notice it. And what we're indeed seeing is this little cyclic pattern of indeed downtrends and uptrends. And just to simply put it, what we're seeing right now is that this quote-unquote downtrend, which started around April of last year, 2022, is now finally starting to be over, because indeed it looks as if we're slightly getting back into the green. And again, this is just one of the many metrics, one of the many charts that I'll show you guys just right now to show that there are so many things pointing to the fact that this bull run is only just starting. Because again, right now people are just not selling their crypto. Again, this is based on the long-term holders' realized profit versus their loss. And what it just showcases right now as we speak is, like it explains right here, a breaks above or below the 1, suggesting regime shift, signaling a potential shift in profit loss dominance alongside market strength and weakness. I personally think as well that right now what we're seeing is the start of people starting to feel comfortable a little bit again in terms of profit, and I think is going to shift over relatively soon. Well, actually it already has, right? Because we're back above 1 already. Here's another very interesting one, that's the Bitcoin yardsticks. I'd say in reliability, this one is slightly different, as it describes itself as the Bitcoin yardstick being a metric developed by Caprio Investments as a simple rule of thumb tool for Bitcoin valuation. The hash rate yardstick in or is similar in concept with the PE ratio, except instead of stock earnings, it takes the ratio of energy work done to secure the network in relation to market cap. Now, to make it useful for me, let's actually exclude this market cap over hash rate. And if we then take a look at this chart, there's a couple different things that become quite interesting. We've got the yardstick themselves, and we've got the yardsticks with some specific standard deviations under or above the mean. As you can see, they're on the bottom left. And what is most interesting to me indeed as well is just how cyclical these yardstick actually moves as well. In a sense of there's a very clear pattern of the major bull runs in here. Even though most things I've noticed actually have been quite bullish, there's actually one small little thing I want to warn you guys of, which is the fact that it's been quite a while since we've had some sort of good correction here in the last couple of months. If you seriously take a look, this is the Ethereum monthly returns here. It's a rolling return. Meaning if you look at this value here over at the end, it says price monthly return being 0.3 means that in general, it's basically been increasing by 1% every single day. And looking back all the way up to December, we've actually had many of these like capitulation moments and all that as well. But even in the course of history, it's not been that many times that we had a quiet wow. Because it's already been like 3.5 months or so, almost 4 months of just quietness with no major sell-offs, at least on a rolling basis. And so this can kind of go two sides where right now, a lot of the bears were just taken out in this major capitulation phase here at the end. I'd say middle of 2022 here, as that was some pretty crazy times. And looking back, every single time that we hit those major capitulations, at least for as far as it seems to me, we have had major pumps slightly afterwards. Again, what I'm showcasing here is the time where it got below the major green bar, which is roughly right there. Hopefully you guys see what I mean. I'm not sure how to draw in here if it's even possible, but slightly afterwards there was a pretty significant pump. Every single time some major capitulation showcased, there was a major pump afterwards. Every single time. You see, every single time it got to that area. Right now, we're not in that area, so there's no immediate crazy squeeze pump here showcasing itself. But I also like to say, moreover than not, I only see one case here proving the opposite. It's actually showcased, a massive deep capitulation here has showcased the start of a more massive rally. But again, the reason I'm saying it's a warning is because we saw instantly after this capitulation a pretty significant pump, of which right now, after seeing all this, I'm going to pay way closer attention to this metric as it seems to have proven itself pretty useful. But it could be that what we're seeing here is similar to exactly 4 years ago in April of 5 years ago, in April of 2018, where it's actually this bounce before a major come down further. However, again, from both sides here in terms of dumps and pumps, we've just not seen any significant action for a very long amount of time. And that's actually kind of unprecedented in history. Such little volatility for Bitcoin. It's quite peculiar to see this. It looks quite similar to what we saw in March of 2019, actually, looking back at it. What I'm seeing is, again, a similar dump right here between I'd say December of 2018, comparing that with June of 2022. Then a slight pump quickly afterwards, here the January 2019 pump, before actually kind of consolidating. And we've not seen this major pump that you're seeing right there in the June of 2019. We still have that still to come in terms of like this metric copying itself, just something peculiar that I'm watching for. Anyway, in terms of capitulation risk, this is also something I like to look at. I think, by the way, and this is very important to know, that all these on their own can make you a ton of money if you know how to use them properly, but combining them all together can give you a very good view of the market. And please understand, this is not for everybody. This alone, all these metrics, to watch them, it's like $800 a month or so. This is always gate. And what I've done here is interpret some of the best charts we like to look at and display them to you in an easy format here. So again, if this is something you enjoy, make sure you press that like button, because I don't think there's too many people out there on YouTube that are doing this. All right, so this metric I like to look at is the long-term holder capitulation risk. It's a tool to identify periods of elevated stress on this cohort of Bitcoin investors. It utilizes a combination of two metrics and seeks confluence when they both fall below 1. I think there's just, without knowing all the details of what it is for, you can simply see that dip in these ratios, and within the blue region, right, it showcases relatively negative times, relatively low points, well, particularly capitulation points where people give up. And as we know, at the moment where people give up is the best moment to enter. Right now on this last part here, it showcases that, well, the best point to enter is slightly behind us, but we've just gotten out of this capitulation, this give up zone, and right now things are on the up and up again. And looking back at history, again, it's a cyclical pattern where it takes a couple years to get back into this zone of right now is a really, really fearful time, and then the uptrend comes along. Now, what I'd like to mention is that in due course, this entire cyclical movement of Bitcoin might actually fade as more and more money comes into the system. One interesting metric we always used to love was the Bitcoin 4-year compound annual growth rate, aka CAGR. I think all of my friends call it CAGR, but hey, Okay, so what we used to do when taking a look at this is you take the value of, for example, December 4th, 2018. You take the value of that specific date 4 years later. So for example, the 4th of December, 2022. Let's just say we got a price of $3,000 and of $16,000. Just say $4,000 and $16,000. The question becomes, how much does Bitcoin need to go per year to reach that point? Is it $3,000 a year? Is it $4,000 a year as a percentage? And obviously it's compounded. What does the growth need to be per year to reach that end point? If we take a look at the chart, it actually just showcases just how much Bitcoin grows per year. And again, throughout most of the years, I'd say the growth rate per year is roughly about 110% maybe. I think it's quite peculiar how you can see right here just how much Bitcoin really does trend from the perspective that indeed this growth rate has decreased so much, and it's quite a cyclical thing, where after the most major pump back in like March of 2021, we've basically lowered down to a new plateau of this normal. Just basically this shows a very, or puts a negative dent into our long-term price performance. And it could signal one very interesting thing, and that is that we might be moving away from this 4-year cycle into like an 8-year cycle, for example. Because obviously these hard forks play less and less of a role as time progresses, and so it just might showcase something along the lines of diminishing returns for Bitcoin. And it's sometimes interesting to think how inflation plays a role in all of this, actual dollar inflation, as obviously this is more so about Bitcoin inflation, as that is what the 4-year cycle is all about, Bitcoin's inflation rate, so to speak. And before we move on, here's a segment from one of the partners of the channel that I honestly like, but thank you for sponsoring this video. And with regards to one of the coins I got into a while ago, it was called Parex. They've done pretty well for themselves, actually getting themselves a listing on Gate, I believe, tomorrow. Again, to refresh y'all's memories a little bit, Parex basically has some ambitions like Aptos. If you guys remember a while ago, we talked about Aptos and how huge it could be. Yeah, people got that massive airdrop. It was pretty huge. And then we talked about a lot of derivatives that could look like Aptos, one of them being Parex. And so it has a couple different parts, as you obviously have the own chain, Parex, being more of the hub for the Parex ecosystem, and also leading to the main decentralized exchange. And again, guys, it's not like this coin is launching soon, that we're talking about a new 10x gem that's still yet to launch. No, it's an established project that I got into a while ago. Just giving you guys an update as to what's going on with some of the things which I used to like. And I think ever since we started talking about it, the price has done pretty well. I think it's up like 10x from a good little while ago here. But I guess it makes sense. They've done a lot for themselves recently, getting themselves their own mainnet, hosting Tether and everything, because again, its own mainnet. I noticed there's only a very low amount of circulating supply. That's because I believe the way they increase the token supply is again with a form of mining, of which they say that it's an inflation eater. But from the way in which I see the steps here, it looks like some sort of staking mechanism to a certain degree still. But I guess the definition of mining is pretty broad. Also, taking a look at the page, they've gotten on a lot of centralized exchanges ever since I last checked it out. But after a little bit of more reading, this mining part is actually a lot more unique than I thought. Again, their whole homepage, their main page here is trying to showcase their unique feature, but also just the idea that you need to burn the PRX in order to mine PRX, which is peculiar, but I guess they found a way for themselves to make it work. As again, the price is about 10x'd in a very short amount of time here. But yeah, as I said, they've been doing pretty cool. And so right now they got themselves another major exchange listing coming up. Gate, again, not an exchange that I use all the time, but it's pretty huge if you start thinking about it. Again, for these newer projects out there, it's not so easy to get listed. To my surprise, again, they're already on a couple of major exchanges, but just a little claps off to them for getting listed on Gate. And with one of their other major exchange partners, BTC. Met them a little while ago over in Dubai. Cool peoples. But I guess maybe that one also showcases that have some very big communities over in Turkey, because I'm also seeing this Gate Turkey page post about it. Anyway, like I said, got their Gate listing coming up, which is pretty cool. Must be some major news for them. Let's continue on with the video. Anyway, I think in terms of metrics, this is just a good little hand few to give you guys some idea as to what's behind these paywalls. Sometimes the information can be staggering. And so if you enjoyed it, all I ask from you guys is to press that like button. And in terms of what we're waiting for here, as I said earlier, we are still waiting for our inflation data to come out. Most important to me is going to be the US inflation data coming out on the 12th, with later that day the FOMC minutes. This is all on the 12th. But we also have, of course, the Ethereum Shanghai hard fork coming up rather soon, which is going to be very peculiar. US CPI, we've got ourselves the US PPI, and we've got ourselves the US retail sales. All these events play a major role in determining the Bitcoin, or rather the entire economy, and thus also cryptocurrency prices. Like I've said before, I think there could be a couple different things that will play a vital role in crypto going towards the moon. And partially, I just think, hey, most metrics we've showcased even today have already showcased now that we are basically starting this next run, all right? And it's just a matter of time before it's going to happen, regardless of all the news. But maybe all the inflation, all that stuff is already priced in, and the market just knows. Because again, it's manipulated by these guys with tons of money. On the contrary, I think there are two very interesting things to take a look at. That is the XRP lawsuit, right? From Ripple, between the US SEC and Ripple, and Apple. We've got Microsoft with their edge, hunting cryptocurrencies, building in the crypto space, building in the AI space, but mostly in crypto as well. We've got many, many companies. We've got the CEO of Apple being invested in crypto. But Apple, in terms of a wallet, integrating it into their phones, it's going to happen at some point or another. I am right now, all right? Let's be serious here. Let me actually go to this screen right here. Right now I'm telling you, I believe to the fullest that Apple at some point will be launching or integrating crypto into their phones. I'm telling it to you guys right now in April of 2023, and I've already been saying it for months. Apple will get further into crypto. And the moment that that happens, everybody that's buying crypto for the first time at that point or onwards is not an early adopter anymore. You're just a mainstream guy. If you're getting into crypto right now, as almost every single one of you is, you are early still. I swear, if I look at my comments section, the majority of the people still are calling me a scammer for talking about crypto. And that showcases to me, most people watching this video right now, as we speak, are early in the crypto space. And I think it will only be Apple or one of those guys like, but probably Apple, to integrate it into their phones with their integrated wallets, at which point it's going to turn around to become a mainstream thing. Or, again, I think it makes a little bit of sense for Apple to not be the catalyst, but it to be something earlier, like, for example, this Ripple versus SEC lawsuit, to put XRP as a properly regulated crypto on the map, because it would just make such a big dent in the current market dynamic of just XRP pumping like crazy and it finally getting some of the recognition it deserves, but also it just finally in the US being a properly registered entity, and it's just a big paradigm shift. Again, from most perspectives, it just makes a lot of sense for cryptocurrencies to do well amidst all this uncertainty around the major markets. I've said it before, if you're not stacking up a crypto, then what are you buying? If you're too poor, right, and you have to pay your bills for food and stuff, I understand. But if you have money in the bank, crazy amounts, and you're just too afraid to put it into crypto, what exactly are you waiting for? What exactly are you saving for? Are you waiting for inflation to eat everything up? Are you afraid that crypto will go down more? Because my best non-financial advice, but my best friendly advice is to think about it in a way of DCA, dollar cost average. Buy as things go lower. If you're only sitting on your money, the only thing I can think of that might be a better thing right now is gold. Why? Well, gold right now has seen some of the best periods ever because of regulatory, but also just macroeconomic in every sense uncertainty. Trump says the dollar might not last. We're seeing the EU, China, all these different places say they must stop this reliance on the US dollar. Things are changing. So the worst thing you could do right now is not prepare your ass by staying still, stagnant, being all afraid about everything. All I'll just tell you guys is be afraid of being too slow. All right? I don't want you guys to FOMO in like crazy, but all I'm saying is be afraid that you're going to be a lazy ass and miss out on crazy opportunities because you're too afraid. I don't think the majority of you guys are going to be that person, but you watching this right now, I don't want you to be that guy. So if you've taken the proper action, thumbs up, my friend. You're in an extremely good position right now. You're solid. Even if things come down, even if Bitcoin breaks down, you're still going with a vehicle that has the highest probability of just being in a good position. And like I always say, and I've seen people write this down sometimes in my comment section as well, I'd rather lose some money trying something that could make me a ton than regretting my entire life that I did not make that decision, that I did not try, that I did not make that investment. I've made so ridiculously many investments in my life now, guys. Again, I've alone in 2022 done over 150 different crypto investments. That is not a cryptocurrency that's already out there. These are equity from companies in the crypto space, Web3 space, or I guess e-gaming space, and sometimes tokens. What I've learned is scared money don't make no money. It's as simple as that. If you're always too afraid, you don't try these airdrops because they cost you 20 bucks. You don't try these pre-sales because they might fail. We have a different risk profile, but I'll make way more money because scared money doesn't really make much money, relatively. That's why if you always save money, there's a good chance that once you turn, 75, or 65 maybe, you've got a good stash built up. But most of the time, you're not incredibly rich. Again, I've said it before, and I say it multiple times in the business realm, but if you think about it, right? You know people that have tens of thousands of dollars worth of watches. If it doesn't ring a bell that saving most of the time is just not the best way to get you there, then I don't know. All I'm doing here is trying to help you guys by thinking about this outside of the box here. Of course, the first time I had to send somebody $10,000, the first time I had to send somebody $100,000, I was scared. But eventually, you understand that that's one of the only ways you're going to get to this newer realm. It's a very well-known proverb as well, but I think in economic sense is this. Normally, it's about plants and trees, etc. But to make $1 million, you'll probably have to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars or spend it in some way, shape, or form. And it goes a little bit lower than that. To make $1,000, you probably have to lose a couple tens or a couple $100 and so forth and so on. And to make billions, you're going to lose millions of dollars, if not tens, or if not hundreds of millions of dollars in the process. I'm not a billionaire yet. You guys may all know that, but I am 1,000% certain if you give it 5 years, I'll put a date of 5 years there, we're going to have a completely different conversation. Depends a bit on the crypto market, to be honest with you. But trust me when I say, your life could change within a near instant. I've had many of my friends turn $100,000 into nearly $150 million. One of those coins could do it for you. And I've said it before. If you just watch my YouTube back, the amount of times I've made $500,000 with something I've explained in videos, it's just insane. And so I very often laugh when people say, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Fine, all right? I don't judge you for not believing me. I don't want you to just believe guys on the internet because obviously people can lie. It's true. All I'm saying is, take a proper look at who is buying these cryptos early. Very often these are major investors, angel investors, or venture capital funds, and take a look at their returns. It's not crazy to get a 1,000x return, meaning if you put in $1,000, you get $1 million out. You put in $100,000, you get $100 million out. Now, again, it's rare. It won't happen every single day, but you only need one to succeed. My ratio, I'd say, is like 80 failures, 20 successes, where failure is just something that did not make you a ton of money. Sometimes they even double, but that's not a success in my book. A success is if it's a 10x or more, but a real success is if it's 70, 80, something along those lines, X. And yeah, I'm just sometimes interested in the reasons I don't still know why not more people are telling you that the real money is all about your network. Honestly, the more very wealthy people you know, the more money you'll make. It's just a fact. It's honestly completely true. The moment that I moved to Dubai is when my life changed so much because I started noticing, wow, you need anything done? This guy knows that guy that knows that guy. And if you just sit at home in your little cave of sorts, yeah, you're just not going to meet the right people often enough. You can still become crazy wealthy, but it's just a lot harder. And so my biggest tip to people as well is go and meet as many of these people that are working on something as possible, because maybe you can help them in some degree get a percentage back, yada, yada, yada. This is not news. It's just like mindset, but sometimes I like to share that with you guys anyway, because I sometimes just wish that somebody told me this a couple years ago. Again, I've been in the crypto space for over 10 years. Officially 10 years. I think it might even be 9.5, but you understand my drift. Since 2013. And then I see some of the guys I know who stepped in 2018 or even 2020, and they've made a couple $100 million more, where I'm thinking, where exactly did they take a different step? And some might say, oh, because they were born richer. It will help, for sure. The richer you were born as, or the better your connections were at the start, the easier life gets, sure. But I also know some people that started from absolutely $0. And what I mean with that is they literally did not have a computer. It took them a very long time to get themselves a laptop of sorts, had to fight really, really hard to just get those first dollars in, but still made it to multi-millionaires a couple years later. All I'm saying is just don't think it's impossible, because the biggest thing keeping you back is thinking that things are impossible until they're done. That's it for right now. See you guys later in another one. Make sure you press the like button. Adios.